Welcome to my shop. For many years, I've wanted to build my own woodworking and hobby space. But you know, life has a tendency to get complicated. Just like a lot of people, I kind of put off building a dedicated space for my hobbies. And lo and behold, we bought a house, had kids, the dog, the wife. Things just, start to get prioritized above a shop space. But no more. I've decided to just jump ahead and get the shop that I need and stop planning for some future that may never happen. So here we are. I've leased this 1,500 square foot warehouse on the other side of town from where I live. But it has a lot of things that I've been desperately needing, including a big roll-up door, a dedicated office space, and a bathroom that's totally functional, and basically nobody else here telling me how to work, how to lay things out. It's not exactly a dream shop yet, but I figured I'd take the time to throw up a camera and you could come along and we could figure it out together. So with that, let's take a look at what we've got. Okay, here it is. This is, like I said, a 1,500 square foot facility, part of a much larger building with very similar other units. I've got the southwest corner, which in hindsight, not perfect. The west sun, where I live in Northern California, just beats down, and this gets awful hot, but we'll make do. So I'm imagining this will become a space for working, obviously, but maybe also staging some furniture and decor that I plan to build and maybe sell. I'm not sure where, on Etsy or maybe on my own website. But it's pretty basic. It's about a 12 by 12 space. Hideous color on the wall, that'll change soon. But like I said, big floor to ceiling-ish windows that are beautiful from the inside out, but keeps it really hot in here. So that little guy struggles to keep up. Coming into the main shop, you can see the layout is basically just an open space that has very high ceilings, 16 feet on the short end and running up to about 20 feet on that end. The previous tenant put a loft in, you can see from this angle. I'm not sure exactly why he did that, but I'm thinking about closing it in and making it either somewhere I can cut metal with a lathe and keep shavings out of the wood area, or I'm not sure yet. Naturally, here's the front door and my YouTube script. So I want to thank Rob the Maritimer for, inspiring me to get this going. And if you haven't heard of him and you're interested in starting a YouTube channel, highly recommend him. So the wall that is on the right as you come in the door has a single power outlet, and the big bummer is the exhaust for the air conditioner. So if you're in the shop, it's not awesome to have the AC going in the office. So we'll rectify that at some point. And I've just pulled in a couple things from either tools and shelves that I've already had, or I've been getting a hold of some tools from my nephew, who lives about an hour and a half away, including this drill press, which is pretty sweet. The main issue being that it does not pull back up when you crank it. So I've got this disconnected. Let me just thread this in. or not. Yeah, another video. So we'll get that quill fixed. I think that's a quill, called a quill. It needs to spring back up. I think it's just a broken spring. So inside this housing, I believe, will be what's effectively like a watch spring that needs replacing. This fan is mandatory. It'd be on right now if it weren't for the recording. On the left side, as you come in, empty Bamboo Lab box. We'll talk about that in a minute. Water, which is pretty awesome. I think this was a detailing shop right next to the door. Cars pull in and cleaned off. Of course, I went to tighten the water and snap the handle on the bib. So either new handle or entire new bib, but there's no shutoff valve. And I was just noticing, not a valve in sight. And I believe it's behind the drywall in the bathroom. So, fun times. Okay. Behind this sheet of melamine is the old tombstone welder. So we'll get that plugged in and be able to do some stick welding, which is, you know, not really what I'm intending to do much of, but it's nice for repairing gates and other chunky things. I actually haven't run it and it's been a long time, so we'll see if I still know what I'm doing with a stick. This I acquired 2 days ago, and I've had a pretty fancy router table in the past that I built from a plan set that I got from Wood Magazine probably 15 years ago. And I really miss having a router table. I sold it just because I didn't think I'd ever use it. But I saw this come up on the marketplace, and for $100, this originally retailed for $350. And it's just a little benchtop router table. You know, you could go get one off the shelf at the box store, but it probably wouldn't be as nice just in terms of having slat T-track on the top and in the fence. And so we'll do a video of me assembling that. It's never been assembled. It's like brand new in the box. So I felt like $100, that was pretty worth it. So here's the, you know, command center for any woodworking shop. This is an older Rockwell, pre-Delta Rockwell Unisaw. Pretty basic. You can get these on Facebook Marketplace for, I don't know, $300-400. My nephew had this and just was gonna set it up as a dado saw. But, you know, for a dedicated dado shop saw, this is a little overkill. So he sold it to me. Well, he gave it to me. I haven't paid him yet, so we'll get around to that, Chris. Now you'll see in the background an Incra table saw jig, or not jig, but a fence. I used to have this mounted on a contractor grade table saw that was when I was doing a little more woodworking, a little bit more dedicated to the craft. So we'll see if that ends up on here, but if I'm honest, that fence is more than enough. Here's a older 220 dust collection system, branded Bell saw. Again, a hand-me-down item from my nephew, and you know, it should do the job. There's bags on the floor there that should be hung up on it, but the thinking is throw a canister filter on the top of this and either a bag or a can underneath, like a lot of folks are doing. Again, another project. I've actually got replacement hose on the way here because this is in rough shape. Yeah, it's got some cracking, I think. All right. This is this assembly table. This is something that was given to me by a friend in a co-working space in my city's downtown. And I think they probably just bought it off of Amazon. This looks like faux black tube, but it's pretty stable. It's a little low for my liking, but as an assembly table, it's pretty fine. And then working through the electrical options that I have. This is your pretty basic shop panel, but it needs a lot of work, in my opinion, to work for my needs. I may end up throwing a sub panel right there. That way I'm not limited by how many 220 outlets I can have, because looks like I have two, let's see, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 220 spots. That might do it, we'll see. ChatGPT told me I needed a sub panel. This wire was logged or connected into that guy, a 20 amp circuit labeled laser. And if you follow it, it's just, that's not how you do electrical. Stapled to the drywall and into a box, but then both lights and outlets on the same circuit. So that light and those lights over there were on the same circuit as this outlet and the outlets over there on that wall. So we'll let the ridiculously loud hot rod go by. So that circuit will get rewired and we'll split the lights in the outlet. Bathroom pretty basic, but very mandatory. And so here's this loft. It's not really a loft, because if you see, that beam going down the middle actually is higher than the 2x6s, I believe, that are spanning across. And so I had a conversation with the previous tenant, and he was saying that that beam continued over to this corner in the past, and there was some separation happening between the right and left sides of the shop. So they just cut it and left a loft, which could be cool if I put a staircase in, but then I would have to build up the 2x6 ceiling, or which would be the floor, to match the height of that beam. All right, so in this back corner, you can see I've got a little scroll saw just in case, I want to do any scrollage. Little LED light for, YouTube career. But then we've got a brand new Bamboo Lab X1 carbon with the accessory kit, and the AMS should be somewhere, but the shipper left it out at night and I never got it. So yeah, back and forth with Bamboo on that one. Hopefully we'll have a resolution soon. An old drafting table that needs rebuilt. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this or what, but I love to do artwork, graphite and painting, and so maybe I'll make use of that. Some accessories brought from the other shop, painting supplies, border cable, biscuit joiner, actually. What is in here? Yeah, for the kids, This is what is called a biscuit joiner. And before Domino came and owned the market on joining two pieces of wood with a dowel, whatever they call those systems, guys like me would just use biscuits. A little blade in there just plunges just like a domino, but creates little slots for a biscuit that swells up when you glue it. And pretty handy for making tabletops and anything flat, but not so great for joining like pieces coming in and butting into each other. It's not the strongest joint. Here's the OG Delta planer. This is probably the first semi-serious woodworking tool that I bought. And I did a lot of great things with it, but a planer really needs to be set up, plugged in and working in order to get regular use. And I had a tendency to put it away, put it under things. And man, if it's not out, I'll tell you what, I don't use it. All right. So over here, this is kind of out of place, right? Well, I'm in the tech space. My day-to-day is a software product manager, founder, consultant, and I work with a lot of systems. And my local startup incubator was moving and got kicked out of their space, and they had this rack and they were going to leave it, and I know for a fact the new tenant was not interested in using it, and so I said, thank you very much, I will take that from you. And so this might be a good like microcosm of the channel that I intend to make here. I'm not going to just be woodworking, right? This is like makerspace, Tony Stark's basement, do what I want. And I have some skills to do probably non-traditional maker things. I'll try to keep it as niche as reasonable, but don't tell me what to do. Okay, this is a lathe that I don't believe I own. We'll see someday. Again, nephew. Got some tools. I believe these are for stabbing spinny things. I've never actually lathed anything, can you tell? This is, yeah, pretty cool, but we'll see. Look how long I've been saying that I was gonna do a YouTube channel. Thank you for watching 10 years later. Okay, so this wall is the back side of the office wall. And I figured keeping this kind of a semi high traffic or, you know, lower traffic, sharpening, maybe a cabinet down low, certainly some uppers. And you'll see that I have a grip at cabinets over here. I just said cabinets. Cabinets that I got off Marketplace for like $100, $125. And those probably gonna go here or in that back corner. I haven't decided. I need to lay it out. Okay. In this kind of pod area here, got some stuff. So this bandsaw is a beast. Let me just, okay. Yeah, so older, obviously, but look at the size of that motor. something like a 17 horsepower motor. No, it's not really that, but I was joking with my nephew that if the bandsaw didn't work out, I would convert my Ford Ranger to a EV, put that puppy in there, puppy. And then here is your kind of basic 6-inch jet joiner. This is, what is it? Does it say there? 6-inch long. Can you see that? 3/4 horsepower. Yeah, I don't know the model number. So the big issue with this, I was just playing with it. It works, but it's taking off too much wood for my liking. And it's leaving a little bit of, I don't know, on the planer I would call this planer snipe, but maybe this is jointer snipe. Is that a word? I just made it up. Co-register that domain name. So the problem is, and my nephew let me know, this is another nephew tool, that the carriage, or whatever you call these guides that raise and lower the table, has a tab that's snapped off inside there. So that's another project. So I talked about shop layout. If you haven't seen this yet, this is Jonathan Katz-Moses' shop layout. What do you want to call it? Template? So pretty cool. Scale is 1/2 inch to 1 foot. So I've gone ahead and taped together what is the equivalent of, I believe, 29 by whatever it is long, I don't know, but it's accurate-ish. And then I've been laying out, my wife did this awesome little notebook because I was on the dining table cutting these guys out. She's like, all right, honey, you need a little notebook with a pouch. So I've been thinking through where all this stuff should go. But isn't this cool? The Katz-Moses shop planning template cutout system. That guy, he's a real man of the people. Okay, so I have a photo of a layout that I did, and that's kind of what we're loosely working with here. But I've got to get some things on the walls so I can get things up and move some cabinets in or whatever, but then I got to get the electrical done first and da-da-da-da-da. But check these out. So probably not the first choice for a shop, slat wall. This is more like a obsessed garage kind of deal. But I got a sweet deal on about 40 sheets of this. A local retailer that, you know, they use these for behind the counter and all over the entire store, was shutting down, and they wanted to sell this. And so before I even knew I would have this shop, I said, I'm your Huckleberry. So we've got a bunch of slat wall that I'm thinking should wrap this bathroom and then go all the way along this wall at a minimum, probably 2 sheets tall, so 8 feet tall. But I've got it, so might as well use it. So I think that's mostly it. All right, so there you have it. I've got a lot of big plans with this space. Thinking about making stuff for Etsy, and who knows what else. Obviously projects for my house and projects for the shop. So follow along. I'm sure we'll be learning a lot together as I get back into the swing of things with woodworking and shops and tools, and basically just having a good time and getting my hands dirty. We'll see you later.